Hello everyone and welcome to today's webinar on impact of glazing on building performance of Mechanical Department, Parole University. It's my immense pleasure to introduce Dr. Ram Kishore Singh sir, who is honored by Durban University of Technology as Outstanding Research Associate and with 2015 Council Award. He holds master degree in physics and doctorate in energy and has over 10 years experience in the field of renewable energy. Also, he served as principal scientist and headed solar energy division at Sardar Patel Renewable Energy Research Institute, Vallabh Gujarat. Now, he is functioning as independent consultant in area of renewable energy. For any of the question to Dr. Singh, drop me a message or mail me. Now, Dr. Singh sir, I want to request you, please deliver your presentation. Over you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for wonderful introduction.
Yeah, my welcome.
Hello.
Welcome, sir.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I hope everybody will be safe and staying at home in this period. And you might be realizing the importance of the buildings during this period, how important and how friendly environment should be in the building so that everybody can stay at inside the building during such kind of environment. So today I'm going to discuss in small area of the designing of buildings, the impact of glazing on building energy performance. So let me start, and we'll start from the energy consumption in the buildings. What is the status and what will be the future, and how it is growing worldwide, and how it will be how will be the future of the buildings in India. So before starting, let me know if I'm audible clearly. If you are having any problem, let me know.
No, sir, you are audible.
Okay, great. Okay. So in present scenario, almost every activities, whatever we do, so performed by us is an energy consuming process. Okay, whatever we do, even we enjoy whatever activities we do. We generally enjoy using the phone or watching the television in the house or outside. We use the energy, whatever it is, whether you are driving, whether you are traveling. It's an energy consuming process. So the each activities by the human, which is energy consuming process, obviously putting the pressure on the energy demand or the total reserves of the energy globally. Okay, so obviously it will be the more and more pressure in future in Indian energy sector. So it is not only putting the pressure on the energy sector, it is also disturbing the environment and the ecosystem of the local ecosystem and the global ecosystem. So this is one of the area which is impacting the environment and the energy sector significantly. So what is the impact of buildings on the energy environment? So at current level, the building sector consumes approximately 30 to 40% of total global energy production. It's a global number. In India, the Indian buildings consuming around 30% of the total electricity consumption in India. So in 2010, if you will see the scenario of 2010, the building sector accounted approximately 117 exajoule, which is 32% of the global final energy consumption. And it also accounted 19% of the energy related CO2 emission and 51% of global electricity consumption. So globally, this is the number. So direct and indirect CO2 emission because of the buildings is equal to 8.8 gigaton CO2 per year. So this is huge. If you will see what will be the future, so in future, by 2050, the final energy use of the building sector will be more than twice, and the equivalent CO2 emission by the from these buildings. And if you look at the growth of construction, it's forecasted to close 85% by 2030. Whatever it is now, the 85% will be more in 2030. So it will be equivalent to $15.5 trillion, which is huge. The Indian construction market will overtake Japan by 2021 and will become the third largest construction market after China and US. So at the moment, China is the number one, and the US is the second, and Japan is the third. But by 2021, the Indian construction market will be at the third position. And by 2030, the Indian urban population is expected to be 165 million. The growth in the Indian construction market is expected to be almost twice as fast as in China. So the construction will be, at double rate whatever is in the China at present. So the future of Indian construction or Indian building sector will be, significantly faster and higher. Okay, so obviously, when the construction market will grow and the building sector will grow, the demand of buildings will increase. The demand of energy will increase, and the impact on the environment will also be the inverse condition. So if we'll use the building whatever we are having in the current situation, such type of building will continue constructing, then the energy consumption will be increased significantly, and it will be significant burden on the Indian energy sector as well as on the environment. So the situation of the environment currently in the metro cities, it is sometimes it is very hard to even breathe. So it is a worst condition. And now you can imagine what will be the situation by 2030 if the whatever the projected numbers is will be met. So based on the AIIIE report, the in 2017 the total floor area in business as usual scenario in different types of building is you can see here what was the number, and what was in the third and fourth column you can see the energy consumption in billion units. So they also projected from 2017, so after 10 years in 2027 what will be the floor area, and accordingly the energy consumption will increase. So you can see here the office building is the one of the major energy consuming sector. So in this presentation, I will focus on the office building, how to design the glazing component in the office building. Okay, so by looking at these numbers, you can see what will be the impact and how fast it will grow. So after 20 years in 2037, the floor area will be more than double. So even it will be more than double, and it will grow continuously. Now, the actual approach, you see the approach of sustainable building stocks. We need the sustainable buildings. Why we need sustainable buildings? So that we can reduce the burden on the energy sector as well as the environment. So there are different types of process and approach adapted by different agencies. uh, but in most of the cases, no, hardly buildings are constructed in an energy efficient manner. There is energy conservation building code, which is developed by the Ministry of Power, and this is not mandatory actually. So it is obviously hardly few agencies are accepting this code, and there is long process of using this ECBC code. So what is ECBC code is energy conservation building code is just the initial stage of developing a sustainable building or low energy building. you know is ECBC is prescribing the how to design the component, what is the minimum criteria. So ECBC is just prescribing minimum criteria for energy efficient building. This is the starting stage. There are different stages like green building concept or lead concept, GRIA concept. So using this lead, GRIA, there is different type of points are allotted for, in which the process, how the buildings are constructed, how the manpower are used, how the environment is maintained during the construction. For each and everything, the points are allotted, and based on that the rating is given to the buildings. So that is another stage. So in the green building rating systems like GRIA or LEED, they are not only adapting the ECBC prescribed conditions, but also prescribing the procedure how to develop the building, and during the development what what are the criteria which has to be maintained, what is the process which has to be maintained. So during the construction there's a lot of process, and how to minimize the material minimize the material consumption, and how to make it more energy efficient. Not only the to reduce the operational energy consumption, but also during the construction the energy consumption is reduced during the by using the LEED and GRIA prescribed procedure. So this is the another stage after the energy conservation building code. This is another stage, and the other which can be called the last stage, in which after the construction the building should be provided powered by the renewable energy solutions or renewable energy options, so that no energy is delivered through the grid. So it should be grid independent, or either it can be grid independent, or it should be grid connected, but the net energy consumption which should be negative. Like it should provide the electricity to the grid, not get the electricity from the grid. So that will be a net energy zero energy buildings, either net zero energy building or negative energy buildings. So that is the last, probably the last criteria till now. So that is the process how to develop the sustainable building stocks. So during that process it is it's a big process. So a lot of components are there. So for each component there are different kind of manpower is required, like for designing the glaze component, designing a opaque component, designing the greenery nearby the buildings and inside the buildings. So how to maintain the environment inside the building, which portion should be the air conditioned, which portion should be the non-air conditioned, and how to maintain the non-air conditioned, how to minimize the air conditioned load, okay, by operation. So for each and everything there are different kind of skills required. So there are process to get those skills. So I am just discussing here one component, which is the glazing component. So if you look at, you will search in the Google, you will find the modern architectures buildings, in which more and more glass is used. So glass is becoming the primary construction material in the modern architecture. Okay, so modern buildings, even if you see in your areas, the even nowadays the residential buildings are using the glass. Okay, so glass is becoming the major construction component. Now there are thousands and thousands glass available in the market. It is very difficult to identify which glass is appropriate for your buildings. If it is a residential building and non conditioned building, then your requirement will be different. If it is office building, then your requirement will be different. If it is 5 or 6 hours operating office building, then the glazing material requirement will be different. If it is 24 hours operating building, then this glass requirement will be different. So for a different type of building, this the impact of this glass is different for different kind of buildings. So the environment, because the environment and operation hours and operation criteria is different in each of the building. Also, climate, local climate where the building is constructed is impacting significantly. So the interaction between the environment, local environment, and this glazing component is very important. How it behaves in cold climate, how it behaves in hot climate, how it behaves in moderate climate, how it behaves in uh, humid climate. So in each and every climate, the behavior of building and behavior of this glazing component will be different. So there are many combination, there could be many combination which can be used to design the buildings, but it is obviously it is very very difficult, hard to identify the correct glass type during the to utilize while the construction. Also, what kind of glazing is used means the how the what is the pattern of this glazing. Like it may be the cladding wall, it may be the windows, the different percentage of the glazing component. So there are many combination which needs to be considered during the um, selection of the glass. So now let me explain what is the role of this glazing component. Why we need this glaze, and because this using the glass is not an economical option. At first sight, it obviously it will increase the cost of construction as well as the your heating or cooling load. So in this slide, you can see the how it interacts with the environment. So this glazing component will provide you the view, broader view. The broader is the area of glaze component, broader view you will see. What is the benefit of broader view or the view of to the outside? To see outside, it's always comfortable to the eyes if you will look at the nature. So for the comfort, most of the time we go to the hill station or to the long drive just to to provide the comfort to our eyes. Our eyes are very used to see the broader view, and if we can look at the broader view, then our eyes will be very comfortable and it will be in relaxed mode. So that's why the glazing components are used. So that is not only the one option, one of the criteria or one of the benefit. The other benefit is it provides the natural light, daylight, okay, which is best quality light. So the glazed component provide the daylight indoor, which is very good for health as well as for eyes. Now if we'll use this glaze component, and if we wanted to utilize the daylight, then obviously outside will be noise. So if you will not use the glazing component to glass, if you will not the glass, and if you will use the openings, you will leave the opening section, then lot of noise can come inside. Wind also can inside come inside, that will disturb the activities inside the building. Also the dust is the major problem nowadays, and for the health also. So if you not use the glass and if leave the building, opening in the wall, then lot of dust, wind, noise can come. Also, um, it is risky to leave the opening in the wall. So to protect from the outside environment, also from the outside risk, from the risk of theft and other things. So the glass is used to provide the, that glass, using the glass, that opening is provide the, gives the feeling of opening, as well as, provide the broader view, protect from the noise, rain, wind, dust, and many things, and also allow the, daylight, which is very good. Also, protect from the moisture and the direct contact of the hot or cold temperature from, from the outside. So these are the main, points. And how it interact with the, environment. You can see the radiation can come inside directly, which is, provide useful energy to the human also. Let's go to the next slide. So there, these are the, some of the advantages of and disadvantages of glaze component. So as I discussed, the allow access to best quality natural light and broader view to outdoor, significant energy saving in lighting. When you are, getting the natural light, you don't need to use the um, artificial light, which is, energy consuming process. But there are some disadvantages. So the disadvantages are indoor visual and thermal discomfort. So what is the indoor visual and thermal discomfort? Means when you are getting the, heat inside, the solar radiation inside, then obviously it will increase the temperature. Or in the cold climate, you will get the, more cold energy inside, and the temperature will drop inside the compared to the opaque one. Okay, so it will create a discomfort in thermal. And also, if the light which we are getting, natural light, though it is useful light, you are getting the best quality light inside, but if the illuminance level is, higher than our, requirement, then it will create a glare problem, a discomfort. Or direct light, you cannot see, you cannot look at the direct light. So it is very, discomfortable to look at the highly illuminant, source or window. Okay, if there is, one light source in the building, which is very intense light source, then it is very discomfortable to look at the, that light source. So similar way, the window also behaves. If the light is higher, then it will be discomfortable for the, eyes. Obviously, when the heat or cold, the temperature, outside is lower or higher, then obviously it will increase the, HVAC consumption, heating or ventilation, air conditioning load. So the energy consumption will increase. So, and the higher construction cost and the running cost, if the, HVAC load will increase, then the running cost will increase. And as the, glass is costly material, so the construction cost will be higher compared to the normal material, the opaque construction material. So these are the some, advantage and disadvantage of this glazed component. Now, what, look at the energy transfer mechanism through the glaze component. So you see here, the, radiation is coming from the sun. When it comes directly to the, glaze component, it enters to the inside. Okay, so some of the radiation will be reflected. You can see here, if you can see. Let me just, sorry. So the radiation is coming to the first pane of the glaze component. If it is double glaze, window, or if it is single glazed window, then the radiation will come at the outside of the pane, and some of the radiation will be reflected and some of the radiation will be transmitted to indoor, and some of the radiation will be absorbed by the glass. Okay, so the transmitted radiation will increase the temperature inside, also will provide the daylight, and the absorbed radiation, some of the component of the absorbed radiation, that will be the absorbed energy, and that will be in the form of heat, will be, some portion will be transferred indoor through convection and conduction mode, and some of the radiation will be transferred to the outdoor in the similar manner. Okay, and outside temperature and indoor temperature will obviously will create a heat transfer to the inside, or heat transfer from inside to outside, and that will again increase the load on the HVAC. Now you can see in the corner, right corner, there is picture which is the transmittance of glazed component, glazing or glass, at different angle, incident angle. So what is the incident angle? You can see a normal from the outer pane, and the incident radiation from the sun, making an angle with this normal from the pane. So that angle is deciding how much radiation will be transmitted to the inside. So up to 60 degree, there is no change in the transmittance. Okay, after 60 degree, the radiation will, transmittance will decrease significantly. So in most of the cases, the the incident angle remains this 60 degree, not more than 60 degree. Okay, so above 60 degree, it decreases significantly. Okay, at 90 degree, nothing will be transmitted. So you can see 90 degree means it is coming in parallel to the window. Okay, so this is the process. And now if it is a double pane window, so again the reflection, there will be some reflected and some transmitted. So increasing the pane, number of pane will change the quantity, amount of the energy transmitted to the inside, and absorbed energy that will be transmitted to indoor and outdoor. So this is the energy transfer mechanism. So there are two types of energy transfer. One is the due to temperature difference, that will be calculated using the UA delta T. Okay, temperature difference. And then another is direct radiation, that will be transmittance multiplied by the total incident radiation on the surface. Okay, so that will be the total energy transmitted to the inside building, indoor to the building. Okay, so these are the this behavior will help in deciding the how much energy is coming to the indoor and how it is behaving indoor. So now again, when it will go inside, then different walls and surfaces, um, that direct radiation, if incident on the floor, it will be reflected to the other walls and the roof, and then again re-reflected. So there will be multiple reflection, and that's why your complete space will be a daylit space. Okay, it is not like radiation is coming and incident at one point and it will be absorbed. So it will be reflected and re-reflected, and your area will be your indoor space will be radiated because of this natural light. And sometime it is uniform, sometime it is not uniform. Obviously, when also other than this direct radiation, there are some component, reflected radiation and diffuse radiation. So the what is diffuse radiation? Diffuse radiation is the diffused by the environment, okay, atmosphere, by which we can see outdoor is daylit outdoor. Okay, if that will not be diffused radiation, then you won't be able to see too far, very far. Okay, you will only be able to see at a particular place. So that is the usefulness of this beauty of this natural light or diffused light, which is enable us to see very far. And then the locally reflected radiation, like nearby building or nearby earth, or nearby floor area outside the glazing component will reflect some of the radiation that will again be, entering to the building. Some of the uh, part of this radiation will be entering to the building. Okay. So let me know if you are, unable to hear everything what I have, explained. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So it is coming clearly.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now let me start again. So there are some criteria on which basis we decide whether the, this glazing component is efficient component or inefficient component. So there should be some criteria. Okay. Like if you wanted to buy something, then there should be some criteria. Okay, this is the price, this is the, weight, or this is the quality. So there are some criteria for everything. So similar way, here are some criteria to decide whether the, glaze component is efficient or inefficient. And there are, two different criterias. One is the, I would say three different criteria. One is the energy criteria. The energy, it should be energy efficient. Then it should be, visually, indoor visually comfortable inside the, your area should be comfortably daylit area, like it should be glare free. And this component should provide you the, outdoor view, broader view. So I missed one of the, yeah, there is glare free hours. Okay. And there is one component, if the building is using some shading components like, curtains or something. If you are using curtain and all the time the curtain is, placed, then you won't be able to see outdoor. Okay. You will be able to get, natural light, comfortable natural light, but it will block your the view to the outdoor. Okay. So that is also discussed in this, presentation. So these are the, criteria like energy consumption and energy saving potential in the, glazing component, and daylight autonomy. So for defining whether the natural light is, visually comfortable, or indoor is visually comfortable or not. So indoor is visually comfortable will depend on these, daylight autonomy and useful daylight illuminance. Okay. Also these parameters like daylight autonomy and useful daylight illuminance will define how much energy is, consumed in the lighting, indoor lighting, artificial lighting. If your, indoor is not naturally, adequately daylit, then you have to use the artificial light. Okay, that is again the energy consuming, process. And the light which, the natural light which is coming indoor, it should be glare free, means the illuminance level should not be very high. Okay, it should not irritate to the eyes. Okay, like if you, will look at the sun, then you won't be able to look at the sun because the light intensity is too high, too much. Okay, it's many thousands, um, lux. Okay, even lux in lux. Okay, so that is, huge. That is very intense light. So you won't be able, your eyes will not be able to look, see the sun directly. Okay. So if that kind of situation, arises in the window, if your window is, getting high illuminance level, then you won't be able to look at the, window also, even if direct light is coming to the window. Okay, you won't be able to look at the window. So that is irritating. Okay, that is discomfort. That is called the, glare. The high intensity at the, source is the glare. When it is, it doesn't allow us to look at the source directly. So that is the, glare. So daylight in autonomy is the, numbers of the illuminance. Okay, if the illuminance level is higher than the 500 lux, okay, whatever the, higher value, doesn't matter. But if it is higher than the 500 lux, okay, then that is called the daylight autonomy. Okay, so daylight autonomy is the, how longer, how many hours you are getting, uh, illuminance higher than the 500 lux. So the numbers of hours, let's say in 24 hours, let's say 12 hours, during the daytime, you are getting 4 hours in which the illuminance level is more than 500 lux. Then 3 hours is, let's say in within the 6 hours a day, the 50% numbers of hours is higher than the 500 lux. If your day length is 6 hours, then if you are getting 3 hours, more than 500 lux, then 50% is the daylight autonomy. If you are getting 4 hours more than 500 lux, then your daylight autonomy will be higher. Okay, 60%. Okay, so in that way, the daylight autonomy is calculated or estimated. Okay, now again the another parameter in daylight autonomy parameter, there is problem. If you are getting, let's say 10,000 lux or 20,000 lux, then your daylight autonomy criteria is meeting, then that period is counted as daylight autonomy period. But that higher intensity will create a problem of glare. Okay, so that will not be useful. So in daylight illuminance, useful daylight illuminance is the illuminance level between 100 lux and 2000 lux. Okay, so between 100 and 2000 lux, that time period is counted as useful daylight illuminance hours. Okay, so if your daylight, the illuminance level is between 100 and 2000, that period will be counted as useful daylight illuminance. And how it is decided that it should be 100 and 2000? So based on many experiments, why one of the scientists in US, and they did the experiment with the different age group people, and decided that the this daylight illuminance level between 100 and 2000 lux is useful and will not create a significant glare problem. Okay, so it is very pleasant to look at the source. If the daylight illuminance level is below 2000 lux, and if the value is below 100 lux, it is not very useful. It is, you won't be able to see very clearly, and it is not useful for reducing the your artificial lighting consumption. So in daylight luminance, as we consider 500 lux is very good for sufficiently daylit area or lit area. Even if you are using artificial light, the 500 lux are the prescribed condition in your office space and even in houses also, that 500 lux should be there. Okay, if 500 lux is there, then it is more than sufficient to see clearly the object you wanted to see, or you wanted to work, or you wanted to write or something, whatever you want to do, you can do. This is the for official space where the working writing and other things are more frequently used, then 500 lux is required. Okay, so if the 500 lux is there, then the using different kind of gadgets, you can eliminate using the artificial lights in the buildings. Okay, so there's this kind of difference in daylight autonomy and useful daylight illuminance. So daylight autonomy tells us how many hours we can avoid the using artificial light, and useful daylight tell us how many hours we can use daylight comfortably, and what is the period of daylight which is comfortable for eyes and work. That the number of hours in your office when the window is open or closed, it should be glare free hours. If glare is there, then you won't be able to use the hello, hello, hello.
Hello. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Is there any problem?
Sir, presentation is blinking, so I think
Okay.
there is a network problem. So you can
Ah,
close your camera. So I think it will helpful. The presentation will inflow.
yeah, I'm using my camera.
Okay. Please
Yeah.
close it. So it may helpful for continuous.
Should I close it?
Because presentation is
Okay,
blinking.
okay. Let me stop. Okay. Yeah.
Kindly present a full screen of
Yeah,
presentation.
sure. Just a minute, okay? Let me check. Um, okay. Is it fine now?
Please share your presentation.
Okay. Let me. Is it visible now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Hello? 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 Hello?
Yes, sir. 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 Yes, sir.
Hello? 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 Is it audible? Hello? 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 Hello?
Yes, sir. 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 Yes, sir.
Is it okay now? So I'm assuming that everything is okay. The slide. So there are some parameters which affect the performance of property of the shading and glazing, and type and position of the shading, and also the control strategies for shading and lighting. Okay, so to achieve the energy efficiency and indoor visual comfort simultaneously, these parameters has to be selected suitably in the different type of climatic conditions. Okay. Now on the dynamic setting options. So when you use the glazing, obviously it's for in house also. The shading component is important. Okay. What? Yeah. Hello. हाँ 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 sorry. Okay. 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 Okay.
Hello, sir. Dr. Singh, sir, kindly share your presentation. Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. So, there are dynamic shading options. So when you're using the, glaze component, then you have to, use the shading options also. You are obviously using the shading things like, curtain or other type of shading. So these shading options can be stable, static and dynamic. So nowadays in offices, the dynamic shadings are used. Dynamic shading means you can, put them off and on again and again. Okay. It can be automatic or it can be, manual. So in automatic, you can set the criteria how it should be on and off, and in manual, you can, decide based on your requirement. So there are some, different type of, shadings which can be used inside the glazing, outside the glazing, also in between the glazing. So I have, presented here two types, inside and outside. And in most of the cases, when it is the drapery, curtain, then it is used inside generally. And when it is blind, then it is used outside. So it can be, horizontal movable or vertical movable. Horizontal movable, it can, the horizontal movable means it can move from one side to another side. Okay, for when it is switched on and off. And vertical movable, it can move from top to down and down to, from down to up. Okay, so that is the these are the option. Or you can avoid to using the this uh, shading option, but the shading option is used to protect the privacy also. So for your privacy, generally these shading options are used because it is not hurting your visual comfort. And whenever you need, then you can off, you can put it off and look at outside. Okay, so these are the shading options. So in this presentation, I'm going to discuss the deciding which are the glazing component or which type of glass is energy efficient and which type is not energy efficient in for the cold climate in Shillong. So in this we have did some work for the Shillong, which is cold and cloudy climate. And latitude and longitude, you can look at this screen, the 25 degree and 34 minutes north, and 91 degree and 52-degree east. And altitude level of the Shillong is 1500 meter above sea level. So Shillong is the capital of Meghalaya, and it's a northeast state of India. So most of the time, the climate is cloudy there. Okay, and during the winter, the rainy season is there. So during the winter, the rain is prevalently happen there, and 6 to 7 months is the dry season. Okay, so as it is cold and cloudy, climate in the location, so obviously the heating will be the major requirement in this area. So let's look at the temperature profile of the location, so you can understand whether it is heating is requirement or the cooling is requirement. So if you look at the this section, the outside, the right, you know right corner of this graph in the last, then this is annual average, minimum maximum. So the minimum temperature of 0 degree, mean temperature is around 14 degree, and the maximum temperature is around 27 degree. So the coldest month is the January month, and the hottest month is the August. So in the January, the temperature is, minimum temperature is 0, mean temperature is around 7 degree, and the maximum temperature is 17 degree. And in the hottest month, that the highest temperature is 27 degree, mean temperature is around 19 degree, and the minimum temperature lower temperature is around 14 degree. So if you'll see the comfort condition, so comfort condition is between 22 degree and 25 degree temperature. Okay, so in that period, and in that temperature environment, human body feel comfortable. So the temperature is lower than most of the time. The low temperature is lower, so it means the heating is requirement. But let's see what will be the impact of the glaze component, whether it is heating, or whether it is increasing heating, whether it is increasing cooling, or the requirement is cooling or heating. Okay, so let's look at the solar radiation profile. So we have calculated the radiation on four vertical walls. So considering that these four walls, there are four rooms in a building, which are one room is south oriented, another room is north oriented, and another is west oriented, and another is east oriented. So these four major oriented buildings are considered in this work. So if you look at the radiation level, so the afternoon level is mostly cloudy throughout the year. After 12 p.m., 12 noon to 6 p.m., the radiation level is minimal. Okay, so the afternoon is mostly cloudy, and before noon, morning hours are sunny hours. So you can see the south surface in the November, December, October, January, February, and March are the when the radiation level is quite high, around 300, above 200 watt hour per meter square. And in the afternoon, or in the May, June, July, August, September, the radiation level is below 200 or 100 watt hour per meter square. In the north side, you can't see the radiation level above 100 or 200 watt hour per meter square. And west surface, the afternoon hours are little sunnier hour, because the sun is in the west in the afternoon. So this west surface will be related surface. And the east surface, because in the morning the sun will be in the east, so if the your room is east oriented room, then in the morning hours you will get the sun, and in the afternoon hours you will not get the sun. But you see the maximum radiation level, the highest radiation level is falling on the east surface. It means in the morning hours the radiation level is quite high, and in the afternoon hours the radiation level is decreasing significantly. Okay, so so this will help in estimating the performance of glazing component. In each condition, the glazing component will behave differently. Let's assume the afternoon and morning hours fully sunny hours. Then in that condition, the behavior of this glazing component will be different. Okay, so now we have used a simulation tool, which is Energy Plus, which is available free of cost. And this is the process of how the estimation is done. What are the inputs? So the building model, weather, data, occupant profile, material, glazing and shading properties, shading and lighting control strategy, operation strategies, parametric inputs. These are the input parameters. Okay, and after pre-processing, in which format these are required, that is the pro-processing. So that is done, and then this input is given to the Energy Plus, and then it is simulated. So a lot of more than 200, around 288 combination was simulated. Okay, and then the result whatever we are getting, that is post processes, and put in the usual format, which should be easily understandable, and can be utilized for the designing. Okay, so what are the output parameters? The energy consumption pattern, daylight autonomy, energy saving potential, unshaded period, illuminance, useful illuminance level, glare free times. These are the parameters which we have estimated, and based on that we'll see which component, which type of component is useful. So we selected one of the room size, which is standard room size, 4 by 4 by 3 meter cube, and we selected three glazed area. 30% is one of the standard minimum area, 60% and 90% is the highest area, and there are some window frame area which is for 30% it is around 4%, for 60% it is more than 5%, and for 90% it is more than 6%. So every component, everything is playing some role in the energy performance of the room. And the indoor surfaces, the reflection or color of the indoor surfaces will obviously play a significant role. So here we have kept the constant interior reflection